Hi guys, it's Beth here again. We hope you've been enjoying all the art activities that we've done for you so far. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because we've got lots more to come. So today we're going to have a little go at doing this rather sweet little fox. It's going to be a drawing and a painting, so you will need some paints. I've tried to make it simple, so I've used yellows, orange, brown and white. So if you've got those colours, that is brilliant. If you haven't got paints, you could probably do it with felt tips. So if you are ready, we will make a start. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing the nose. Just press it nice and lightly to start with until you're happy with your lines, just in case you need to rub out. So the nose is going to be, I'm doing mine at a slight angle because my head's going to be tilting just to the right a little bit, but don't worry too much. So the nose is quite sort of square in shape, nice curved corners, and the top is slightly wider than the bottom bits. And then I'm just going to put my two little nostrils in just to start with. So just two little curves either side, and then the mouth, just a little line coming down in the middle and then just curving round just slightly, just a little mouth, not too big. Okay, then what I'm going to do is we're going to just do this middle section first of all. So underneath the mouth we're going to do a little line. I'm going to do a little dash just to start with, and then we're going to take it up and curve it around the nose on both sides. Try and keep it roughly the same. And then it's going to come in and it's going to be just wider than the top of the nose here. So we're going to take it up on both sides, just little dashy lines, just little dotty lines. And then have a little look, check that you're happy with it. And then we're going to curve it over, make a note. This is going to be the top of the eye. So sort of a curved line on both sides, like that. And just check that you're happy with it. Okay. So once you've got that in and you think it's roughly symmetrical, what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to make this one a little bit higher, I think, because I want it to be at a very slight angle. So I'll just rub that one out so we don't get confused. So little lines across the top. So for the eye, all we're going to do, just keep it nice and simple. He's got nice big sort of round eyes. So we're just going to do a nice curved line that comes down and then up to meet that top line. Okay, on both sides. So nice curved line, and then this top line goes over the top just a little bit. Okay, and then inside we're going to do a big round circle, almost touching the bottom but not quite, and curve it back up. So it's like a circle but with the top bit cut off. Same on both sides. Okay, we're just going to leave that like that for now. And then we're going to do his basic face shape. So the height of his head is probably about the same height as this bottom half. So just roughly measure it out. Do little dashy lines, again, little curve there. We're going to add his ears in, so don't press too hard. We're going to curve that round across the top of his head. And then it's going to come down. Our line's going to go a little bit straighter now, down the side of his face. And then it's going to start coming in to join up with the bottom of his chin. It's quite pointy. So this line's quite straight and then it curves around. So same on this side. Try and make sure it's roughly the same on both sides. So a little line. I'm going to actually bring this one in a bit on this side, I think. There we go. And then we'll rub that one out. Just there. So check that you're happy with your basic face shape. So it's quite pointy, the chin's quite pointy. And when you're happy with that, we're going to add the ears. So the ears, they're quite big, pointy ears on a fox. So we're going to take this line up, quite a straight line. And then we're going to start it from just probably level with the corner of its eye, taking it up, curving it over into a little point just there on this side. And we're going to extend that line down into his face a little bit. Okay, and then what we'll do, we'll just rub that top bit out. Okay, and then on the other side, roughly the same. Now the ears don't have to be perfectly symmetrical, just up quite high and then back down. Okay, we'll just rub that little bit out there. Okay, so we'll just check that we're happy with that. I might just make this ear a little bit wider. Okay, so once you've got your ears in, we'll do a little line that just comes underneath that top line. So up to the top, curve it round, and then the same on the other side. So we're just following that line, taking it up and then over, like that. Okay, so we're nearly there with our sketching, and then we just got to do the body. So the body, where our cheeks start to come in, we're just going to do a little line that comes down, little sketchy lines, and then on this side we're going to take it in but start to curve it out. So we've got his back, and there we go. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so we've got our basic outline in. We're going to go straight to our paints, and we're going to put the rest of the detail in with our paints. We'll come back to the pencil later on. So I'll just grab my paints. So what I'm going to do to start with, we want to make the middle bit lighter. I'm going to start with my lighter colours, and then we're going to get darker, and that saves having to wash our brush all the time and making our paint watery. So to start with, it's a bit strange painting white paint on white paper, but I'm just getting a white, all my whites in. So first of all, we're doing white down the middle section. So the front of his tummy. So a little bit of white. You can do this quite quickly, you don't have to be super neat. And then we're going to do a little bit of white on his muzzle, just either side of his nose. And his mouth, and just go. So I'm doing maybe the muzzle in white, and then we're going to do the sides of his cheeks just here. A little bit of white here, on the other side. Don't have to be really neat, and then inside his ears as well. We'll do that bit white. Okay, so we get our white on first, and then we're going to move to our next lightest colour, which is our yellow. So now we want a nice sort of yellow base. Where I've got the edge of my fox's face, I'm just going slightly over the edge, making it look a little bit fluffy. And we're just going to put this yellow base on, so under his ears. I'm not doing a perfectly straight line, it's quite wibbly. I'm going to go across the top of his eyes, down his nose a little bit into that white, and then under his eye. But we're going to leave this bottom bit white, so just a little bit under his eye on both sides. Just down the side of his nose, just a little bit. I'm also going to put a little bit of yellow inside his eyes, just on that outer bit here. Okay, we're going to go over with black, so don't worry too much about being super neat. It's just to get a little bit of colour in there. And then just going to go down his back, just along the edge. I'm not doing it in a perfect straight line, just getting a little bit of yellow just down this side and along this little edge here. Okay, so we've got sort of a yellow base in just on that edge of the ears as well. And then we're going to build up with our tones and our colours. So the next colour I'm going to go is orange. I'm going to make him nice and bright. I'm going to start introducing some brush strokes now. So we're going to make him look a little bit fluffy, try and get this fur effect. So little lines now. So think about the direction of how his fur grows on his face. It's going down his face a little bit now. We're going to work over the top of his head, a little bit under his eye. So pretty much the same places as we've done the yellow, and a little bit under his eye, and do tiny little orange lines just on his ears, and then again down his back. So just imagine this is his fur now. So it'd be like little flicky lines. Just use your brush strokes to try and show the texture of his fur. Okay, so I've done a little bit of orange. Now what I might do just to blend that in a little bit is just go back to my yellow, just work a little bit of yellow just in, just a little bit. Just especially in this middle bit by his nose. So once we've got it looking very bright, so we're going to knock that back now with a brown. I've got sort of like quite a reddy brown. So I'm just going to, now my brush strokes are getting even smaller. So I'm pressing less hard with my brush. If you have a smaller brush, you can move to a smaller brush if you have one available, or you can just try and just use the tip of your brush just to work over the top. So we're getting a little bit darker. I'm just adding this brown in now. If you could try and play with your colours. So if you've got a really dark brown, what you could do is maybe make it a bit more reddy by adding a little bit of red into it. Just mix your colours, or you could add a little bit of orange and red. So just experiment a little bit with what you have. Okay. Make those ears a little bit darker. And at the top. So under his eyes. Down his nose a little bit. That makes his nose stand out, so making this little bit darker. And then the edge of his coat, so down his back. I'm using my little flicky lines again, try and make him look a bit fluffy. Okay, so, and then again over here. So we've built up those layers of colours. So we started with our yellow, our orange, and we still want to see some of that yellow and that orange coming through. So don't completely cover it. So what we can do is we can wipe our brush. I generally wipe my brush rather than wash it. So I've still got a little bit of brown on it. And then I'm just going to get my white back, and I'm just going to just put a little bit of white just on the edge of his coat, just to blend it in a little bit, and the same on this side. I'm going to put a little bit under his chin. So I've got a light brown now, because I still had a little bit of brown on my brush. So once I added my white, we're still getting a nice tint. And just keep dipping it into my white, not too much brown. We still want to keep this middle section nice and light. I'm just putting a little tint of colour on his tummy. And then I'm going to do the same on the nose. So I've got a slightly lighter brown. I'll just get a slightly lighter brown just on that middle section. Just down the side of his nose, just a little bit, not too much. And then I'm going back, I'm going to wipe that off, go back into my white, just try and blend that in a little bit. But we still want this bit to be really light, so don't make it too dark, it needs to be nice and light. And then just a tint of colour, just here, just a little bit. Not too much, again we need to keep it nice and white. And then we're going to do a little bit in his ears. So just white with a tint of brown on his ears. Okay. So what we'll do next, I think what we'll do, actually once we've got the white on our brush, what we could do is just put a little bit of white, just a few little flecks, just in the middle. And a few little flecks just over, not too much, over the top of his eyes, like this. Just do that. Okay, so now I think what we'll do is we will do our eyes and our nose. So we're going to move to our black. So once we've done and we're happy with everything, then we can get our black on our brush. So if you've got a small brush, I would use a small brush for this. Try, if you want to, you could even use a felt tip pen if you're feeling a bit nervous about using the black paint. You can, but you need to go very slowly, very carefully now. So in his eyes, we're going to paint this middle section, and I'm going to leave a little white highlight. If you don't manage to leave the white highlight, wait until your paint is dry, and then you can just put a little white blob of paint on that bit there. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So barely pressing with your brush, and then just a little white spot in his eye in roughly the same position on both eyes. And then we're going to give him a little bit of eyeliner now. So I'm going to use a smaller brush because we're getting really detailed now. So if you have got a smaller brush, this is where we want to use it. So not pressing very hard, I'm really going slowly and carefully around the eye, just outlining. So just up. And so I can see how this is making his eyes really pop out. And then just a tiny bit of black just in that corner. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So you need quite a steady hand for this. So just over the top, down into the corner. Nice and slow and careful. Okay, and then just accentuate that point a little bit on his nose. Okay, and then what we're going to do is, what you can do is you can just bring that black down a little bit if you want to. And we're going to do his nose next. So I'm putting a tiny bit of black just on the bottom of his nose, and maybe just a little bit on the top. And then I'm dipping my brush into my white. So now I should get a nice grey colour. So wipe off the black, dip it into the white. And then the top bit then is nice and grey. You can drag your black a little bit from the bottom. So ideally what we were trying to do is we're going to make the bottom bit of the nose darker, and then it gets lighter as you go up to the top. The nostrils we're going to make really dark, so we're going to make those black. Okay, and then you can, if you want to, just wipe all of that black off, put some little white dots on, little highlights. Okay. For the mouth, again, you can do this in a felt tip or you could do it in a very small paintbrush. Just a little curve underneath his nose. And I think the last little bit of painting that we're going to do is just a tiny bit of grey just inside his ears. So I'm just putting a little bit of grey inside his ears. Don't put too much on your brush, just want a little bit just to make the inside a bit darker, and you can blend that in with a little bit of white. So a tiny bit of grey, blend it in with a bit of white in his ears. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could put a tiny little bit of very pale grey just under his chin, just to help his face pop out a little bit. Okay. And then when the paint is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our pencil. We're going to add a final layer of detail. So I'm going to get my pencil back, and let's assume that my painting is dry. You might need to give it a few minutes, but I'm just going to work with my pencil around the nose just a little bit, little sort of scratchy lines, and I'm going to put some little lines on his chin, make it look a bit hairy, like that. And I'm going to just do some little squiggly broken lines just around his face, just to bring it out a little bit more. Okay, and the same with his ears, just working the outline a little bit. I'm not doing a continuous line, I'm just colouring it a little bit with a quite scribbly line. And you can put a little bit of shading if you want to with your pencil inside his ears. You could do a little bit of line work over the top as well of your paint, just to give it that extra level of detail. It's quite nice down the nose, and then in his fur, maybe a few little flicks coming out of the edge. Underneath here, just gently, not too much. My paint's still a little bit wet, so it's best to wait till your paint dries a bit. And then I think the last thing we're going to do are his whiskers. So all you need to do is get your pencil, draw a few little dots first of all, either side of his nose, like that. And then get your pencil and we'll just do some little flicks. Not too many. I've done about 5 on each side. Add his little whiskers on. Okay. And then I think that is pretty much it. So just check that you're happy with it. Add a few little details. But I think we are finished. So we hope you enjoyed that. Do keep an eye out on our channel because we've got lots more activities coming soon. Bye for now.